ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you all for joining today. We continue our discussion on spiritual health or emotional health and its connection with spirituality. I also joined from the tablet. Can you make me a co-host there also? So I'll do a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday, and then we'll move on from there. So yesterday, Haribol, can you please make me a co-host? There's a Chaitanya's tablet that is there.
Some other name, Prabhuji?
Are you there? Or somebody is there?
Some other name. We cannot locate it.
I just send a message. Are you able to locate it now? Okay. So to summarize, yesterday we discussed about how when we practice spirituality, that gives us access to a source of positivity. And from the world, we'll have negative and positive emotions, negatives and positives both happening. And emotion can be information, but emotion can also be distortion. So we need to be able to manage both. Are you able to find I sent a message chat. I sent a message in chat also. I said something. This is my device.
Is it an admin's iPad?
Mm-hmm. It's in Galaxy T, Samsung Galaxy 9, S9 Plus. Okay, I have raised my hand here. Are you able to find me now? Yeah, it's a different Zoom link. Yesterday also I joined from 2 different links. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. Are you not able to spot my hand? I've raised my hand over here. Okay. Sorry about this. So anyway, that's why I joined once again. Yesterday I discussed about how, as devotees, when we practice spirituality, it's important for us to know what spirituality offers us. Now let's move on to another prayer over here. So this is based on 4.39 in the Bhagavad Gita. Let my faith in you manifest as curiosity about your plan. Shraddhava labhate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. The faithful gain true wisdom's grace, with senses tamed and heart in place. Once knowledge dawns, their doubts take flight, and peace is theirs, serene and bright. My dear Lord, help me to understand that faith does not mean blind acceptance without evidence. The faith you ask for is simply curiosity about the nature of reality beyond what is visible and accessible to my senses. So it's interesting. Krishna talks here about Shraddhava labhate jnanam. That when we have faith, through that faith we gain knowledge. Let's try to understand this idea a little bit more and how it relates with our discussion today. Yesterday I talked about how, broadly speaking, when we are going through life, the outer world is going to be full of ups and downs. And then this outer world, we have our body which interact with the outer world, and then we have the mind. And in the mind, these ups and downs can become even bigger. And then beyond that is the soul. So what we do is, from here there are dualities coming in, but from here we can have positivity coming in. So now, is this positivity escapism? Escapism means you just don't want to deal with the world, want to shut out the world. So, well, not exactly. Some people think spirituality is about these two things. So shut out the world and shut up the mind. Shut out the world, just turn away from the whole noise of the world and shut up the mind. Silence the mind. Such people think that actually we can become thought free. There's just existence, there are no thoughts at all. But this is one conception of spirituality which is not really very sustainable. If we can be thought free, then they think we'll be desire free, we'll be emotion free, and then that will make us ultimately not be agitated. We can just be peaceful. But this is just not practical, because even to be thought free is to have a thought. That being thought free is also a thought. See, thought, just like to want to be desire free, is also to have a desire. So thought is at one level, it is a basic unit of mental activity. And as a basic unit of mental activity, we can never give it up. But beyond that, we can thinking about something, focused on something, agitated by something, that often agitates us. And that is something which we want to avoid. So, in the mental domain, we can't do a don't. What does it mean we can't do a don't? That means that we can't actually decide not to do something. So, for example, if I'm touching this phone right now, and suppose there is some live current over here, and if I realize there's a current over here, maybe there's some earthing problem, I can decide I will not touch this. So, in the physical domain, it is possible to not touch things. I can decide this is some current, I won't touch it. But in the mental domain, it is not possible to do that because it just doesn't work like that. We will end up doing something or the other. If I say I won't think of something, in that very act of not thinking of something, I am thinking of it. If I say don't think about a pink monkey, I may never have thought of a pink monkey, but I'll start thinking of a pink monkey. So those who have this idea that spirituality is about shut out the world and shut up the mind. That means we just create a barrier over here so that we don't look at the world and just shut up the mind. Now this is, can we shut out the world? Well, for some time we can shut out the world. Can we shut up the mind? Well, shut up the mind means that whatever agitating, distracting thoughts are there in the mind, those can we shut up? That's possible. But we can't become completely thought free. We can't make thoughts themselves into zero. Well, so then what do we do? See, basically, like I said yesterday, we can get a positive source of emotions from our spirituality. But that may not always be consistent. We may not always, each time we chant, each time we pray, we may not always get something positive. And will it be sufficient? Krishna does not tell Arjuna that whatever happens in your life, just remember me and be happy. Krishna says, remember me and fight. So remember me means there is a bigger plan, there is a higher reality. Do not deny that. But after that, we also have to do something. So we will look at these 2 points. How do we get positivity in our life? That is it possible to get something that is consistent? And is just positivity enough? So is positive thinking itself enough? Or after the thinking, something else also has to be done? So let's look at it. So positive thinking is the basis. When we start looking at the world, if you understand that I'm a part of a bigger reality, that my life story is not about this person, this thing to me, or I made a mistake, and we think, oh, this is all that is there to my life. Somebody treated me unfairly, and I also made mistakes in my life, and I'm insecure about my mistakes. And both of these make me negative. But beyond this, there is a bigger reality that Krishna is above us all. And Krishna has a plan for our life. That God is working in our life, God is working through us and for us. So everything that happens in our life is God filtered. That doesn't mean God wanted each thing that happens to us to happen to us. There are right and wrong things, and there are some things that are undesirable also. No doubt about it. But everything that happens to us is God filtered. Once we understand that, things become easier to deal with. So now, if you understand this, let's see what exactly happens. When we say that once we look at the world, but we are looking at Krishna and then looking at the world through the light of our Krishna consciousness, then things change. Like if I am here, If I am here, for me, initially the world is very big and Krishna is small. But as we grow, the world becomes small and Krishna becomes big. When this starts happening for us, then the world's ups and downs also don't matter so much for us. So this is actually spiritual growth. So now it is not that the world is becoming zero. The world is still there. The world is still in front of us. And we have to face the world and we reach Krishna through the world. We serve Krishna through the world. So some people say that at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. He uses the word Vraja. Now, Vraja can sometimes means go. So what is the meaning of the word go over there? Why is Krishna saying go? Go where? The idea is that Krishna doesn't just want to, okay, you turn towards me and forget the world. No, you turn towards me for guidance. You've taken guidance. Now, see, Arjun to Krishna, they had a discussion. After that discussion, Krishna says, can't keep looking at me now. Now look at the world. You keep me in your mind, but look at the world and you face the world. So go means go and fight the war. Go and face the challenges of. So bhakti is not about turning away from the world to God. Yes, we turn away from the world towards God to connect with Him, to remind ourselves that He is there and He is real. But after that, we turn towards the world in a mood of service, in a mood of positive contribution. So for us, as we are practicing bhakti, it generally, there's a very superficial conception of what we are looking for in life. The Atma is Sat Chit Ananda. So it is said that we are pleasure-seeking creatures. We all want pleasure. But is that all that we are seeking? This pleasure-seeking is associated with the Ananda feature of the Atma. But along with that, we are also meaning-seeking. Chit means we have consciousness, and on the basic, we seek meaning. And Sat means we are eternal, we are living, so we are life-seeking, we are survival-seeking. So we want to live, we want our life to be meaningful, and we want our life to be joyful. There are the three results. So one of the great mistakes of modern society is that we have assumed that all that we want is pleasure. But pleasure is built on a particular foundation. It's like if you consider 3-story building. There is a 1 floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. You can say this. It depends which country you are in. Sometimes in India we use the word ground 1 and 2. In the West we use levels 1, 2, and 3. You use the Western American nomenclature. 1, 2, and 3 we have over here. So now pleasure is level 3. Survival is level 1. Then meaning is level 2. Now, if you want a 3-story building, we have to first build the floor 1, then we build the floor 2, and then we build the floor 3. But unfortunately, nowadays, what is happening is we are just trying to build floor 3 and without anything below. We want only pleasure. What do I mean by this? That, say, for example, what is survival? In the Upanishads, there are Panchakoshas described. So food, there's Annamaya Kosh, there is Pranamaya Kosh. So this is basically food, water, air we need for survival. But after we survive, then okay, what am I living for? First I want to live, then I want to, what I live for? We want some meaning in our life. Now pleasure, and then after that comes pleasure. But unfortunately, it's like when we want the 3rd level of a building without the 1st and the 2nd, then everything comes crashing down. So this pleasure, one of the biggest problems in life is that the very things we seek for happiness, I seek something for happiness, and that very thing gives me unhappiness. The very things we seek for unhappiness, those very things give us unhappiness. Now we can see this most strikingly in addictions. When somebody becomes addicted to something, what is happening? The thing they are seeking, are they getting that? Somebody smokes, somebody drinks, somebody becomes addicted to binge watching TV, somebody becomes addicted to shopping, somebody gets addicted to spending. So when these things happen, the very things that they're looking for pleasure, those very things cause them trouble. And this is a very, very difficult situation to be in. So why is this happening? Because the pleasure is not the first stage. We cannot, when we seek pleasure, for example, if somebody says, okay, I just watch TV and enjoy. Is there anything meaningful about watching TV? Is there anything that we are getting out of it? If not, then it becomes a problem. Then what happens is that we soon get bored in just meaningless pleasure. And then, because we so desperately want pleasure, say if we consider, let's take some simple example. If you consider food. Now, food we need at the basic level for survival. Now, we need that. But if you see, there are many times people eat food, and that very food that they eat can actually, it can be food that is, say, lots of non-vegetarian food causes lots of kind of diseases. And then their food itself sometimes works against their survival. And sometimes we are actually, what is it said? We are digging our graves with our forks and spoons and with our fingers, depending on how we eat. So why is that? What's happening here? If somebody starts eating food only for pleasure, pleasure is to be there, no doubt. We want the food to be tasty. But if pleasure becomes the first consideration in food, then that can go against survival. Somebody has diabetes, and their first consideration eating food is pleasure. They may eat food which is very sweet, and then those emotions, oh, I want it to be tasty, that will sabotage them. So we don't want that to happen. So therefore, if I go back to this particular diagram over here, when we understand that my life has a bigger plan. See, often what I want to do. No, I want to buy this, I want to eat this, I want to watch this, I want to have this relationship, I want to have this property, I want to have this title. And those things will give me pleasure. And if we get them, they give us pleasure for some time, but afterward they stop. So what Krishna does is, what Krishna consciousness does is, we get a bigger vision of life. And one part of that bigger vision is that our life, in our, all of us are surviving. And basically, we all survive. That much most of us take care, unless somebody becomes insane and becomes suicidal. Survivalist, taken care of. But when somebody seeks pleasure without meaning, then that becomes frustrating. That is, the very thing which promises us positive emotion, that ends up giving us negative emotion. But if we seek meaning first and then pleasure later, then that pleasure is more fulfilling. So meaning is more important than pleasure. It's not that pleasure is unimportant, but meaning is more important for us. Let's take some simple examples to illustrate this point. Say everybody likes humor. No, who says they don't like to laugh? We all like to laugh. But if somebody says, okay, rest of your life, you don't have to do any work, you don't have to bother about money, you don't have to bother about anything in life. Just sit down for the rest of your life in front of a TV and watch comedy shows. Now, would we enjoy that? We would enjoy. For how long would we enjoy that? We'd soon get frustrated in life. So therefore, the idea is that we can't just simplistically let things glide. Mm. It's that after some time we'll get bored because we want something to do, something meaningful in our life. So, okay, I want to. I've been given some talents. I want to use those talents. I've got some ideas over here. I want to use those ideas. Whatever it is I want to do, and when I do that, through that I get some pleasure. That pleasure becomes meaningful. If we look back at our life, which are the happiest moments in our life, generally speaking? They're not necessarily the moments when we were far away from that we were just gobbling down food or watching TV. Even if those moments are there, it is like with whom were we? Were we with friends, with loved ones? We were spent doing something meaningful. The most fulfilling moments are when there were some challenges, some difficulties, and we did something worthwhile to push through those difficulties and achieve something worthwhile. That's what actually gives us happiness. So we want meaning more than pleasure. If we want, you could put another way, meaningful pleasure, not meaningless pleasure. Meaningful pleasure, not meaningless pleasure. So this meaning comes from our service attitude, from our willingness to take responsibility, from our attempts to serve Krishna. So what the Bhagavad Gita does is it gives us this higher sense of meaning. And sometimes when we are doing something that is deeply meaningful to us, if we get result, that's wonderful. But when there is this, when we are doing something meaningful, actually there is an intrinsic joy which comes. There is extrinsic and there is something intrinsic. So say we are doing some writing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna. We are, even we don't bring Krishna into it initially, if somebody really finds drawing, writing, decorating, uh, doing some art or even doing some science, whatever it is, they find it deeply meaningful. And then they do it, just like doing it. They love doing it and they feel just that I did it, that itself is meaningful. Now, after that, if people recognize it, people praise it, people love it, that's even better. But even if nobody does that, that doesn't mean it's worthless. That doesn't mean it is unimportant. No, it is still important. Why? Because it is what will give us, it is there is intrinsic happiness over there. And so if I am here and there's something external that I'm trying to do, something I'm going to do, and something I get from what I do. Now, what I get is not so much in my control. What I do is significantly in my control. Now, if my positivity can come from what I get, naturally, if I do something, I want to get something. But imagine if we got get positivity from what we did itself. This would be much safer for us, much better for us. Because what I do gives me positivity. And how did this happen? Because we understand at one level that above this world is Krishna. And what I'm doing is actually for Krishna through this world. That means what we do. Say some people, when they build a temple, uh, they make so much. If you go to some traditional temples, there is some artwork over there. There is some sculpting of the temple walls. And there are intricate decorations and designs of Krishna Leela, of the Dashavatars and of various motifs uh, on the wall itself. And if you look at that, that's stunning. What does it mean? How do we make sense of it? What is going on over there? It's not easy to make sense of it, but it is very much there. What do you mean by not easy to make sense of it? Like how many people who come to the temple most people come to the temple, take darshan, they see where some prasad, maybe they know somebody, they want to, it's a social occasion. But how many people actually going to look at every single architecture that is there on the walls of the temple? But those who did that, it's not just the people who worked to make it happen, also the people who did it, who paid the workers to make it happen. No, they want to do it for the pleasure of the Lord. It is not just the pleasure of the world. Yes, if some people come and see it, that's wonderful. But if nobody comes and sees it, there's intrinsic joy. So it's very important for us that the way Krishna has made us. Sometimes we may think that bhakti means that I should do the things which involve some tapasya, some austerity. The Kartik mantra started, and we may think that okay, this is a month when I should do some austerity for Krishna. That's true. Austerity is required, no doubt. But the point of austerity is that I'm doing it for Krishna. The austerity may not be pleasant, but the for Krishna part is pleasant. For Krishna, because Krishna is important for us. But if the Krishna part is also not there and the austerity part is also there, then what will happen is that austerity will just become painful for us. So the source of positivity comes when bigger than the world becomes Krishna. Krishna is bigger than the world for us. If we consider the example of Srila Prabhupada, now in Srila Prabhupada's life, we'll see that he wanted to do wonderful things for Krishna. He wanted to do lots and lots of things for Krishna. If we consider, he met his spiritual master in 1922. In 1965, he went to America. 1977, he departed from the world. Now, we could say that he started preaching seriously from 1944. He started Back to God magazine. So 1944 to approximately 1968, when he came back to America the second time, there was little success. Not much success was there. And then from 1966 to 68, 1977, there was a huge success. Now, what was going on over here? Why was there little success or huge success in one case? No, we don't know what Krishna's plan is. But for Prabhupada, Krishna was always the bigger reality. And even when there was a little success, he was happy here. Because this is what he was meant to do for Krishna. And even when he got huge success, now for him, the world never became bigger than the Krishna. And that's why if you look at the last stage of his life, 1977, he departed from the world. That was 14 November. And 1977, 1978, 14 Jan was the date when the Juhu temple was inaugurated. Now, this was the project for which Srila Prabhupada worked extremely hard. And if you consider just 2 months, 2 lousy months, Prabhupada, if he had lived for 2 more months, he could have seen the inauguration of the temple for which he had worked and dreamt and fought, and yet he could not. Now, suppose somebody has worked extremely hard for some service, something, and then just before the final stages, it's the final stage, you just can't see it. They would be disappointed, they would be crushed. When Prabhupada was here, he was asked, "Do you have any last desires?" Prabhupada says, "Kuch ichha nahi. I have no final desires." Now, would Prabhupada not have desired to see the temple? He would definitely have. But for him, Krishna was bigger. He knew that Krishna had a plan. It was by Krishna's plan that he had been successful, and by Krishna's plan, his mission would go on and will succeed in the future also. So he was not hesitant. He was not frustrated. He was not disappointed. His focus was on Krishna, I want to serve you. And I'll keep serving you no matter what happens. And if you want me to see the temple, I'll see the temple. If you don't want, I will not see the temple. So for him, here, so we could say seeing the temple opening was the world doing something for, if we go back over here, the world doing something for us, something in the world manifesting. But he working to build a temple, to make the temple happen, that was he doing something. So for him, even the face of that disappointment, he was so positive because his vision was much bigger. He was not focused on just the immediate. He was not focused on, this is what I want to achieve. His focus, he had the bigger picture in mind. And that bigger picture kept him grounded. That bigger picture kept him focused. And he was completely absorbed in Krishna as he departed from the world. So that's how the world, when we have to face challenges, it's not that just because we become Krishna conscious, everything else will fall in place for us. Everything will work out right for us. Sometimes it will, sometimes it will not. Even for devotees. But because a devotee is doing it for Krishna, that Krishna, this is my endeavor for your pleasure. And because it is my endeavor for your pleasure, Krishna, I know that this is all that matters for me. When you want, if you want, the results will come. Even if the results don't come, Krishna, I accept. I accept you. I accept your will. Now, moving forward from here, let's go to the next sub part of it. So I said that on one side, we face the world. We face the world with a bigger worldview that keeps us positive even when the results don't come. So bhakti is not just about turning away from the world or turning out, just shutting or escaping from the world. It's not escapism. It's like we go inward. We go inward to come outward empowered. So escapism is just we go this way and we don't come out. But it is we go inward to come out with inner empowerment. I'm not here, Krishna told Arjuna, you're not just fighting to win a kingdom. You're not just fighting to gain a. You're not fighting just to win a kingdom. You're not fighting to get revenge. You're fighting because it's a part of my plan to establish dharma and bhakti in the world. So that's how we go. If the world is out here, we're not. Our spirituality is not that we are escaping from the world. We're turning back to the world empowered. Now, the last part I talk about is how do we, if when we turn inwards, we don't feel positive. There is no consistency in our spirituality. It's not consistent. Then what do we do at that time? In say, if I come to a temple, sometimes I feel good, sometimes I don't. When I chant, sometimes I feel good, sometimes I don't. So what do we do at such times? That time, what we understand is that actually, in any relationship, if we have any relationship, the serious relationship, then the relationship involves many emotions. If there's a serious relationship, we could say there is definitely happiness in the relationship. But happiness is only one component of the relationship. Along with happiness, sometimes there's anxiety. If somebody becomes a parent, somebody becomes a mother or a father, and they're happy to have the newborn baby, but if the newborn baby is sick, then they have anxiety. And that's very much a part of the relationship. There is also a sense of, we could say is there always happiness? There could be excitement. But in the future, I hope something good happens in the future. And so there are sometimes when the other person does not listen to us, or the other person does something which we just can't make sense of, then there might be anger. Now, if there's no relationship with someone, then whatever the person does, we won't feel angry. We won't feel angry with that person. Yes, you get lost. I don't care for you. Mhm. I was once doing a mediation between two people, and one person said to the other person, I know that you're very angry. Other person said, no, anger is an expensive emotion and you are not worth it. I've concluded you're not worth it. That's a very terrible thing to say to someone like that. It's dehumanizing. But the point I was making over there is that if we don't care for someone, we might just switch off from the emotions and say, I just don't care for you. And if you say, I don't care for you, then there is no more emotion in that relationship. There's no more emotion in that relationship. Then what happens? There will be no anger also. But if we care for someone, because we care, there'll be anger in that relationship. And that caring is important. We can't say it's unimportant. So the point is that if we approach our relationship with Krishna thinking, oh, it'll always make me feel positive, that's a oversimplification. Relating with Krishna is not like eating ice cream. Somebody eats ice cream, oh, I feel so tasty. I like it so much. Okay, that's ice cream. That's okay. But relating with Krishna is relating with a person, not just a person, but with the supreme person. And if we're relating with the supreme person, what that means is relating with that person is so difficult, it's so challenging, so important for us to relate with Krishna in a way that is going to have a rich array of emotions. When Yashodamai sees that, oh, she hears the news that the huge tree has fallen, and Krishna was somewhere near that tree. Oh, what has happened to Krishna? Is he safe? He's not safe. There's a huge anxiety over there. So when she tells Krishna, don't steal butter, and Krishna steals butter, she feels anger. So now we may say, I don't feel any emotion at all. I just feel bored. I don't like to hear about Krishna. I don't like to feel about him. I don't want to come to a temple. I don't want to chant. I just feel bored and dead and I don't feel anything. So that's also true. That's also a possibility. But then the whole point of a relationship, the last point I'll conclude with, that a relationship is bigger than simply emotions. What defines a relationship is not just emotions. If you say anything, it's a sense of responsibility. Now, of course, within that responsibility, we experience different emotions. But nowadays, the relationships are just emotions. That idea has become very widespread. And that's why if I don't feel good in a relationship, what's the point of staying in the relationship? Let me get out of here. That sort of attitude comes up. But a relationship is about taking responsibility for Krishna. Satam kirtayanto ma yatantascha dudavataha. So Krishna, I'll conclude with this point that if we consider that if I'm here, there is poison in the beginning and there is nectar in the end. And we need to push through this poison to get to the nectar. This pushing through the poison, that is the process of purification. Purification is Shuddhikaran. So why do we feel that there is a poison right now? Because our mind is craving for so many other things. And because the mind is craving for other things, we just don't feel that connection with Krishna. But fortunately for us, if we consider even in Krishna consciousness, there are different activities. Now, in some activities, the poison may be a lot. In some activities, the poison may be very little. So somebody likes, for example, music. And they come to a kirtan and they would love the kirtan. Initially, they may say that, oh, I would rather hear some other kind of music. I don't want to hear devotional music all the time. The mind may say like that for some time. But once we start hearing, we get to the next quickly after that. Hey, this is wonderful. I love this. Somebody likes philosophy. For them, they may say, okay, I've heard the same topic, same classes again and again. How many times have I be hearing this? You start hearing and you start getting stimulated by that, and it's wonderful. But sometimes it happens that it just doesn't work that way. That we need to push through, and after we push through, we get to it. In some areas, the poison may be a lot more. If somebody is not very analytical, not very philosophical, and they have to do some study course, they have to do Bhakti Shastri or something like that, they may feel, oh, this is so much poison. But even through that poison, nectar will come. So for us, if we consider Krishna consciousness, it's a range of activity, less. But eventually, through it all, beyond the poison, the nectar is very much there. And that's why the idea is that we may not get consistent pleasure in our connection with Krishna all the time. But if we keep pushing on, eventually we, when there's so much joy available in bhakti for us. And that is the Ananda Buddhivardhanam Patipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. That our topic was spirituality and mental health or emotional health. And in that, our second part, yesterday I discussed how spirituality gives us positivity. Spirituality gives us positivity. But I discussed two topics. Is that positivity itself sufficient? And what if, is it sufficient? And what if it is not consistent? The two topics I discussed. Now, if it is not, if it is it sufficient? So we discussed about how spirituality is not about shut out the world or shut up the mind. It's not like that. Shut out or shut up. Shut out the world or shut up the world. That's not as simple as that. The world. We are retreating from the world so that we can come back stronger. So we are empowered in facing the world. And how do we become empowered? Because when we spend time with Krishna, then by that, initially Krishna may be smaller, but by that what will happen is Krishna will become bigger for us and the world will become smaller. And when Krishna becomes bigger for us, whatever we do in life, we are doing in the world, but I understand that above the world is Krishna. And whatever I do for Krishna, if that is my priority, so here there is Krishna, there's something in the world that I'm trying to do. Now, when we're doing something for Krishna, there is what we do and what we get. We discussed about how we are Sat Chitananda. We want to live, we want to be our life to be meaningful, and we want our life to be joyful. Now, if we look only for the third story without the first and second, that is when we seek pleasure without considering its impact on survival, without checking whether it's meaningful, then that pleasure will itself become the cause of trouble for us. We discussed how when we seek quick dopamine hits, then it is we who get hit with addictive or destructive urges. So what do? We find some activities where we get this intrinsic pleasure, and an intrinsic pleasure comes because we understand I'm doing this for not just the world so that the world will recognize me. I'm doing this for Krishna. And we discussed the example of Srila Prabhupada, how Srila Prabhupada, he got huge success, but even with the three phases in life we discussed, little success from say 44 to 68, then huge success. And then there seemed to be the last lap Last lap is that the final lap, we say the last lap, so the runner is running in a marathon. In the last lap, he apparently fell short. By 2 months, he could not get to see the temple. But he was not affected because he was absorbed in Krishna and in Krishna's plan. So that way, Prabhupada was always happy through whatever was happening. What is not consistent, what do we do about that? So we discussed that. 2 points in that. In any relationship, so a relationship is not just about happiness, or it's not just about emotions, nice emotions. It is about, that means we do what is required. In a serious relation, there will be happiness, but apart from happiness, there may be anxiety, there may be anger, there may be excitement or anticipation. So the many different emotions, they all make a relationship. So we start practicing Krishna Bhakti, we understand that there may be different activities in Krishna Bhakti that we do. And in some activities, there may be little poison. Some activity, there may be a lot of poison. Some activity, there may be extreme little poison. But it is, we keep pushing through the poison to get to the nectar. And in that way, there'll be some initial negativity, but beyond that, there'll be enduring positivity that will come for us through whatever we do in our lives, if we stay connected with Krishna through the path of bhakti. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any quick questions or comments? Hare Hare. Thank you. Thank you very much. So wish you all the very best. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Itai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. Happy to be of service.